Late Stage Yapitalism.
Welcome to Late Stage Yapitalism, where each one of us brings a topic and we yap about it. With me today are
Nico,
Stanley.
My name is Dash, and today's first topic starts with
Me.
First topic.
So, I've got an interesting story for you guys. I want to get your opinions on it. It involves a court ruling. So, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that boneless chicken wings can contain bones. A man sued a restaurant after a bone in his boneless wing caused severe medical issues. The court stated that the term refers to a cooking style and consumers should expect bones as chickens naturally have them. What are your guys' views on their ruling there?
look, if you're telling me the chicken is boneless and I find a bone in the chicken, I will hunt you down. And I will murder your family.
That's an excessive term. That's like an excessive American.
If there is a bone in my chicken and I ask for boneless chicken,
Yeah.
I will pick up a bone and I will shove it up your ass.
That's a very aggressive stance on
That is an aggressive
on
stance.
boneless chicken. I think it's pretty stupid that that's even a conversation, to be honest. I understand the concept of expecting no bones in your boneless chicken, but also what are you doing? Are you swallowing the thing whole? What did you say? The guy had complications.
So yeah, he as he swallowed it, he didn't realise there was a small bone in there.
Why did
and
he
sliced
swallow it?
Well, I don't think he realised there was a bone in
He
it.
was just going for
He was
it.
just eating chicken.
It's like if you have an olive and they're telling you it's a pitless olive, and then you bite into it and it has a pit and it fucks up your tooth, and you don't have health insurance, $10,000.
I think that's a great example because it's saying
Okay,
this is a
that's fair.
pitless olive. I'm biting down with it full force, not expecting a pit.
Yeah.
If I was told there was a pit beforehand, I would be more careful.
But surely you look at the olive, and you're like, this olive is a whole olive, and you think
You're not paying that much attention
You're-
because you've been told you're safe.
I trust the
Your
restaurant.
guard is down.
I don't trust. But the thing is, I don't. Right. If someone gives me something and they say it's XYZ, I'm not gonna just take their face value on it. I'm gonna look at it and think, okay, this is cool. This is the thing.
Well-
Do that from there and go from there. I mean, if someone gives me a tin of olives and they say it's pitless, surely you've experienced it where in that can of olives there's at least one that has a pit.
And you can
They get
bet
through.
if I got injured by that pit, I would be suing them. That's the thing. It's sure, you shouldn't trust corporations or restaurants, but it's generally agreed that you should be able to.
But what type of world do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a world where we trust people or where we don't trust people?
In a world where we don't trust people.
See, but that's...
I'd like to not be paranoid when I go and eat my boneless chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to be paranoid. It's not that big of a
It's like
deal.
I'm checking
Wow, I
every
think
piece.
I
Like,
do
ooh, is
now.
there a bone? Ooh, I'm going to choke.
Because this guy hurt himself eating this boneless chicken because it had a bone in it. And the courts have decided, actually, boneless
alright.
chicken's allowed to have bones in it.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy take.
I disagree with the court.
Because chickens
Yeah.
have bones.
I can see where you're coming from. It's you should be more careful. But also, it's not the fact, if he was suing them, that was for the court to decide whether he was being careful enough. But instead, they've just done a landmark ruling on, well, actually...
That's
you
how
can't-
American law works.
Yeah, you
It sets
can't...
precedent.
Yeah, it's just Ohio Supreme Court did it.
The Ohio Supreme
And they've decided that boneless chicken wings can have
have
bones in them because chickens
Chickens have
naturally have bones.
Then don't call it, it's false advertising.
Yeah. Surely there's then a second thing of you need to rename it.
Yeah.
Because
so almost boneless chicken.
Or
Yeah.
you can start experimenting with science and you can create chickens that are like octopuses or something that don't have bones. So and then at that point you'll regain my trust as a consumer.
think-
Okay.
we're getting into a bit of gene editing. I don't know how I feel about that one, but that's a separate topic. But in this case specifically, I'm all for the guy. I think he should have been allowed to sue this company. They said it's because boneless chicken wings refers to the style of cooking.
Oh, I see.
But what
What does that
What
mean?
does that mean? Surely the style of cooking for boneless chicken wings is you take the bones out. Surely then they've incorrectly done it. Well, let's look up what that actually means.
Boneless buffalo wings on the allrecipes.com website, which is our sponsor for this video.
Notice how there isn't any bones in those ingredients.
This chicken, I'm
I mean,
looking
they're
at
just
the
like-
photo.
They're like
They're
They're like
chicken
chicken
breasts.
breasts.
Yeah,
I think this is really...
What's
This is
it?
bad.
One sec. Let me, because they said specifically it's the style of cooking. So what does that mean?
That's what I looked up.
Boneless chicken wing style.
Is it.
Yeah,
That is it.
but
That
yeah,
is
it
style.
mentions nothing about.
It's meant to be like a chicken breast. So
It's
meant
like
to be
it
boneless.
naturally assumes you would have removed the bones.
Yeah.
The actual recipe doesn't include it because it's so assumed that boneless means boneless.
I agree with that point. I think that the guy should probably have... Oh, do I agree with that? I don't think so. I just think that when you're having meat or anything like that, there is a certain responsibility on the person who is consuming the food to actually be able to think for themselves and look at what they're eating and think, okay, this might have a bone. There's a certain level of personal responsibility I think it abdicates if you just say, yeah, it's the restaurant's responsibility to make sure that, oh, there's no bones. Because things happen. Shit happens.
The court ruling was peppered with dissent. It was a 4-3 decision. It was a split decision. One judge called the majority opinion utter Jabberwocky.
Oh,
Why?
Jabberwocky.
A majority of the judges agrees with Desh. Being cautious of bones in a boneless wing is common sense.
Yes, it is.
See,
I
but
disagree.
I think I can understand saying, oh, it should have been more personal responsibility, but they should not have decided to say there can be bones in boneless wings. Because now any restaurant anywhere can be like, well,
They're not going to give a fuck.
we don't have to remove any
Well,
bones.
they're still gonna risk the thing with that is that if you're a restaurant that serves boneless wings, quote unquote wings, right? Like if you're a restaurant that or a business that serves that dish, you risk your reputation if you end up having bones in your dish.
Yeah.
It's a matter of personal responsibility, just like it is a matter of personal responsibility for the individual consuming anything to actually know that there is a certain level of safety they have to take when eating meat.
Well, let me put in this context then. Like, say you ordered a burger
Yes.
and you get the burger and you can clearly see after a bite
Yeah.
this meat's not cooked properly.
Yeah.
You send it back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I would say this is the same kind of thing.
I'm not gonna sue them.
But if it caused you health issues,
His esophagus got torn.
I would.
His esophagus got torn because he's a moron.
No!
He's carved down the fucking chicken
He
meat.
always goes there. He ordered his usual.
He's known by the people.
He goes there all the time, and he's like, these chicken wings don't have any bones because they're boneless, and he never had an issue before.
Yeah, but how do you eat a bone? A long, thin bone. How do you eat that if you're not just swallowing the chicken whole?
I think.
Broski's an animal.
We're not here to
No.
critique his eating style.
No, yeah, we're
I
not.
just think it's very unsafe for the courts to have decided, oh, actually, these can have bones in them. That's fine, because that's not really the case. They should be expected to
Be
not
boneless.
have bones. However, maybe he shouldn't have had a case to sue them for it because of personal responsibility.
I think that's the point. I think, yes, I agree that like the court's ruling in this way is a bit weird. Well, the whole thing is a bit stupid anyway, I think. Like, there has to be a certain level of health and safety that goes into dishes and things anyway.
Exactly.
However, at the same time, in the same token, it's like, if you're going to be eating something, don't scarf it down. Chew your food. Just because you're an animal and you're a fucking moron doesn't mean that you end up having a situation
I would like to
where
say
you
we
sue
refer to
the
this man as an animal, not a moron. I don't think there's anything moronic about eating your food quickly and efficiently.
I think that if you eat
He's
your
just
food
too much of a
quickly-
beast.
No, I think if you eat your food so quickly that you miss a long thin bone, you don't bite into it, you just swallow it whole. You're a bit of a moron.
I would also say that the cooks preparing it were very dumb for
Yeah.
missing the long thin bone.
He should have seen
Yeah,
the
sure.
long thin bone.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, everyone fucking.
He should have sued. Yeah,
But
like-
I think he had a case for it. Whether he won the lawsuit or not is a different story. But the fact it was thrown out just on the base of boneless wings doesn't mean they're boneless is ridiculous.
From now on, I won't be able to experience boneless wings with the same level. Because like you go to eat fast food with like a wish for like degradation. You just want to go and like blah,
Yeah,
eat the
yeah.
boneless wings. I won't be able to do that anymore.
You still chew your food though. Like, degradation does not mean scarfing down something without
Maybe I don't
chewing
want
it.
to chew my food and I
Yeah.
want to rely
Eat
on
a
the
soup.
product.
Eat a
Hup,
soup.
hup.
Yeah.
I just like
I mean, chicken soup has bones in it. Like everything has like it's a
Yeah,
risk
but I'm
when
ordering
you-
chicken soup, not boneless chicken soup. You see? Yeah, it's chicken. Okay, I expect there may be bones in there. But then if I asked for chicken soup and there was just chicken bones in it, I would say that's not chicken soup.
I have to take a minute.
And they would be like, no, those are chicken bones.
I have to take a minute because I need to now remove myself for a second and think about this perspective.
Thank you.
Take a minute to like think about this. Now, as a whole, I think it is stupid anyway that this is a real thing that happened. I think it's insane.
Disagree.
Americans are too trigger happy about suing people. On the other side of it, if I really stop and think about it, I agree with the point that if you get a boneless chicken wing, you should not expect there to be bones. I agree with that. But you are discounting all personal accountability by saying that actually, yeah, you know what, if there is a bone in it, you know, it's a fault of the restaurant, they're supposed to owe you all this stuff. It just doesn't... It's like when you have a bad, like... It's like when you go to a restaurant and you get, like, salmonella, you know?
Like, if they gave me a chicken that it was like no salmonella chicken, and then I got salmonella, I'd be suing them.
Yeah.
But
This is
no.
expressively not
But
salmonella
the
chicken.
expectation is that no salmonella chicken. The expectation is when you get old chicken, it doesn't have salmonella in it. Just like this dish,
Yeah,
it's prepared in
but
this
that's
way.
the thing. The way
has no bones in it. There's still a chance it could have salmonella. There's still a chance it could have a bone in it.
Okay. Then I would say that if the court was more reasonable, you would have to require to have, like on a pack of cigarettes, boneless chicken in parenthesis. There is a possibility of bones in this
that's
dish.
fine. I agree with that.
We have to add a
that's fine.
disclaimer.
That's
like
fine.
when you have like may contain nuts. It's like it doesn't, but it was prepared next to something with nuts.
Yeah.
It's like this was prepared next to
I'm
bones.
okay with that.
Because now it's just going to be the Far West. It's like, here's some
Yeah, this is
boneless
what
chicken.
it is. This is
It
like,
might have bones,
yeah.
it might not.
Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
Here's a watermelon. I don't know, maybe bones.
Maybe.
That's what you get with a Republican Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They're like anything
That's
flies.
wild.
And
Also, it's the way the court has said it's referring to the cooking style, and you should expect bones as chickens naturally have them. I can't also just eat a raw chicken.
That's patronizing.
So, you know, it's like naturally chickens will have salmonella. I can't just chow down on a chicken in the wild. I expect to go to a restaurant and to prepare it for me safely.
It's very patronizing. Because they're like, oh, chickens obviously have bones. Well,
They're
the
like,
recipe
get over it,
implies they
liberals.
don't.
Chickens have bones. It's like, well, you don't tell me it's boneless.
So they're saying that we need to develop bodies that are resistant to biting into bones. You gotta be able to just like chow that bone down, as they say.
I don't know. My opinion is I think there needs to be personal accountability. This is not a big deal. Why this even got into this?
You went to the hospital.
Yeah.
He fucked up! Man just swallowed a fucking chicken! It's his problem!
Listen,
you know.
The Supreme Court was like, hey man, you were too much of an animal, you fucked up here. Like, we're going to throw this out, I get where you're coming from, but it's getting thrown out.
Yeah.
That's
You're not
fine.
getting anything
But
for
to
it,
double down and be like, well, you should have expected that. What were you
I
expecting?
think it should have opened up a debate about
Yes.
about what it means for the chicken to be boneless, and to give
what it means for the
to
chicken
give a
be
disclaimer of like, actually, guys, this is just marketing. It might have bones.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
like with
But
pitless olives. it
like
says that.
I don't think I ever thought about like boneless chickens being boneless chicken wings being actual chicken wings. I don't think I ever thought that. I always thought it was some kind of like breast meat. Or
That's
thigh
what
meat
they
or
also
something.
said
That's the
in
thing.
favor of throwing it out.
Yeah, like as in like you the fact that you go into something and you're uneducated, uninformed about it, and you fuck up because of your own. It's this idea of like there has to be that self accountability. You can't expect the government to like or the restaurant or establishment to like spell things out for you to that detail.
I can't like look up everything I'm gonna eat.
No, bro.
I just want to show
No,
up,
no,
and I'm like,
no,
give me
no.
them boneless chicken wings
No.
without them bones.
There has to be a little element of self accountability there. If I was taking that attitude towards the things I ate or things I did, I'd be like, if I ended up being fucked up from it, I'd be like, well, shit, fuck. It's partly on me. I would also try to sue because I'd be like, I want that money.
Yeah.
But then if this happens, I'd be like, fair play, Supreme Court.
I am interested to see where this leads, because I feel like restaurants are going to take this as a sign of, we don't have to prepare shit anymore. We don't have to check for bones in our boneless chicken wings. The fucking court
It's breast
decided.
meat. How the fuck it even happened is beyond me.
Yeah, that's why the restaurant
Exactly,
needed to
that's
get
why it's a
sued.
big thing.
Yeah.
And maybe the restaurant should sue their supplier of chicken. It's like, because they obviously gave them something which wasn't what they ordered. We ordered boneless chicken breast. And they're like, but it's chicken. Sometimes it has bones.
The butcher's going to be like, it's a recipe.
Also, the fact that one of the judges said what the other was saying was upper Jabberwocky.
Utter Jabberwocky, which is like a Star Wars reference.
I don't think it is, but I love referring to it as a Star Wars reference.
This is utter Jabberwocky. Sounds more British.
It's it's like an old sort of slang for this is ridiculous. It's like bullshit.
The ruling was contentious. 4-3.
Which this is very interesting. It was contentious for everyone. I think they should have actually kicked this up higher. I think it should have gone to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Because clearly everyone's really
Wow.
not sure. We should have kicked it higher.
I mean, it's the dissenting note from one of the judges was that the question must be asked: does anyone really believe that the parents in this country who feed their young children boneless wings or chicken tenders or nuggets or chicken fingers expect bones to be in the chicken? Of course they don't.
Of course they don't.
Because they're morons.
But it's a child, though.
If you're feeding your child fucking chicken nuggets and chicken wings, I'm talking about babies, not about like kids who are like.
I'm
5,
talking
6,
about
10,
baby, yeah.
Whatever. First of all, you teach your kids how to chew their food, so this doesn't happen.
Doesn't have
they
teeth.
bite into a bone, sure. Second of all, if this happens, you're a moron. You're an absolute moron if you don't think about the ramifications of feeding your children meat and not expecting things that could be in that meat. Like, for example, bones.
Well, what about this? They get their kid chicken wings. They chop it up into very small pieces. But one of those pieces has a little bit of bone fragment in it. And for a baby,
You're not gonna feed your baby chicken wings!
Why not?
That's stupid!
I want my kid to be big and strong. It needs its protein.
That's not how you get baby big and strong.
Listen, when when our kids are in the baby boxing arena, yours is going down so
You're going to see what happens.
Mine's gonna be a soy boy.
You're raising your soy boy baby, no meat.
Just chicken.
Yours is gonna be the most paranoid kid ever. You're not gonna trust anything.
No.
It's like this is a 4-wheel vehicle.
No.
Oh, I need to check if this car has 4 wheels.
No. All I'm gonna teach them is to chew their food properly. Chew your food. Understand that.
What if they chew on the food and the bone breaks a tooth? Like,
chicken bones are not that hard. They're not that. Have you bitten into a chicken bone that's cooked?
What if
not that
it's
hard.
like the Superman of chickens? Like it's like a.
Alright, now we're getting into this obscure situation where my baby chews into a chicken because I taught them to chew into chicken bones.
Yeah.
Chews into this superhuman super chicken.
Yeah.
The bone breaks a tooth.
Yeah.
They're bleeding.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about it.
You might be angry. You might want to sue someone.
You might want to sue the company that provided
And
the
also,
chicken.
his claim isn't that outlandish. Like, we genetically modify our chickens a lot. By the time you're having kids, we may have to be genetically modifying these to like the fucking 10th degree.
They might have thick ass bones.
They might have thick ass bones. It's like, there's got a lot of meat on them. So they've got super dense bones.
I'll revisit this when we get to that stage where we have genetically modified super chickens.
I think this is, they've been very quick to make this ruling, and I guarantee we're going to see something else about this soon.
I think this is unconstitutional. It violates the freedom of our country.
I think it might be. I don't know much about the US Constitution, but I think it could be.
And I think we need to have these assurances when dealing with services. I need to know. I need to know if my chicken is boneless.
I think we're on the course. Right.
I think we have as well, but we will be revisiting this topic at some point.
We will have an update on this topic for sure as it goes up the court system. No, I mean they made a judgment on it, so we're over. Actually, it's done.
Who wants to go next to a topic?
Is it me? I guess.
Yeah.
Second topic.
All right. So next topic is me. That one riles me up actually.
I think it's hilarious.
I didn't realize it was going to be so contentious.
I actually don't give a shit.
You can't say that after every time.
No. We're going to cut.
No. I care about some things, but not that.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Imagine. So we're in a world where a cure has been found for cancer. A very clear, easy cure.
Sick.
But it comes with a complication. Everyone that is cured from that moment onwards speaks with a California Valley Girl accent. Do you take the medication or do you write it out?
Now I take the medication.
God damn.
That's not even a question, really.
You take it, you're safe. But then from then on, you speak with a
Yeah, sure.
I
California
think
Valley girl.
it's
Yeah,
difficult because for myself, yes, I'll take it.
Yeah.
However, I think I would end up being quite judgmental of other people who have taken it.
After you've taken it?
Despite the fact that you've taken it and now sound like a
Well,
California Valley
because you don't ever really hear your voice in the same way other people hear it.
girl. True.
So for me, it'll become normal very quickly.
Mm.
But say one of my best friends who I've grown up with from school
Mhm.
to adult age,
Mhm.
I've always known he has a lovely British accent.
Mhm.
One day, he gets cancer, we're all distraught.
Mm.
Of course.
This miracle cure comes along.
Mhm.
He takes it, and now he sounds like a Californian girl. I'm not saying I wouldn't still be friends with him. I'm just saying our friendship would change a bit because
Wow.
he would
Wow.
project himself as quite a different person than he was before.
Despite the fact that he's the same, he just comes off as a.
Well, it's going to sound like he's just
Entire
mocking Californian
swathes of
girls the whole
people
time.
are going to sound... It's going to change cultures.
It would change culture. That'd
Yeah,
be.
it would. It
you
would
know-
no longer be California Valley Girl. It would just be.
It would just be chemo voice.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, you're not wrong.
I
That's
don't know. I don't think. I think it's quite an easy decision. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's an
If I
decision.
could extend
Absolutely.
my life for whatever period, it depends. If I was like 80 and I got cancer, I'd be like, nah, fuck it, I'm out. You know, I'm done.
I think it'd be quite funny. Last 10 years of your
I
life.
think
Yeah,
that,
it's like
that,
an old
that is the one
man.
case where I would do it.
Oh,
Yeah, because like no one's gonna judge me at that point. No one's gonna actually care.
No, I would do it instantly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do
Yeah.
cancel. I would absolutely take it. I would just
judge people. for
judge
it.
it. I wouldn't necessarily think they're wrong, but I think it would change a lot of the way I would interact with people.
So you would be staying true to the Valley accent by becoming more judgmental.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's funny because it would affect who you are as a person in a
would.
way.
Yeah.
I think having just the accent would affect the way you act a lot. Like, I might really start liking, you know, like a iced coffee or something.
Yeah, you might go around with your little iced coffee
Yeah.
and your convertible.
I might start really craving avocado toast. You know, I don't know what else could be
be
associated
honest-
with this accent.
To be honest, avocado toast is not bad.
You've really taken the pills, haven't you?
Avocados kill the rainforest or drain water supply. Okay, would I take
what's
this
your
cure
view?
Yeah,
for
what's your
cancer?
point?
I imagine a world where a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are posers. You got I'm just gonna write it out. I'm just gonna stay true to who I am and write it out.
Write out cancer.
Yeah, imagine there's some people that would approach it
Oh,
that
absolutely.
way because they wouldn't want to compromise who they are.
But you know what would happen is there'd then be like an organization which is against this drug. And it's like, no, people should be who they are. They shouldn't have to change. We should find a better cure.
Yeah.
And then it's going to come out a few years later that person secretly took the medication and has been putting on a voice the whole time.
Oh, I see.
I don't know.
see.
Scandal of the century.
I don't know if medically you're going to be able to put on a voice.
Yeah.
Also, if you take it, you might not be able to be like a comedian anymore, like to do impressions and stuff.
Oh,
It's like your voice is like permanently Valley Girl.
That would be. I think there would be professions that just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, this is my bread and butter. I've just got to
Like
stick
voice
with this
actors
accent.
and stuff.
Voice actors,
Well, I mean, I just think that the situation you're describing, this like scenario you're describing, I think the world would change so much that I don't think it would change the landscape of what life was like. So I think it would, even if it would be bumpy at first, I think this would just become a accepted.
People will get used
consequence.
to it.
Yeah, people would just be like, this is the norm.
I would be quite excited to see like people speaking Chinese with a Californian accent.
That would.
I
be
think we'll
wild.
get some real wild
That
combinations
would
with
be
that.
wild. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
Ooh, I think Californian Valley Girls would not be happy.
No.
No,
Because their culture is being co-opted.
Appropriated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's being like washed down the drain. They'd have to find a new
Oh, shit.
accent. They'd have to
They
find a new way
figure
of
it out.
talking.
They'll find another culture
I was
to
gonna say,
appropriate. It's
I think
okay.
they would. I think they would. I think it's an interesting. I think in that scenario, I don't think the only reason I wouldn't take it is for the same reason I wouldn't take it, irrespective, is if I was at the end of my life already and I
Yeah.
felt like I was pretty happy with what I did. I wouldn't want to extend my life, so I'd be like, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
that-
But
also-
I wouldn't. This Valley Girl thing would not be a factor in my decision making process. You know, I wouldn't care.
Imagine a whole retirement home where everyone sounds like that.
That'd be funny as hell.
that would be hilarious.
That'd be
funny,
cute.
so.
That'd be cute as fuck.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'd take it. I'd have to think about it.
Would the Valley accent be a big part in your decision making, or is it
Yes.
like around everything else? Okay.
Yeah, it would. I'd have to think about it, because it's like, at that point, people are gonna assume two things. Either you're like a rich kid from the Valley in California, and that comes with its assumptions, or you're someone that just got cured from cancer, which comes with much more like positive and wholesome.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, the other side of that
or
is
both.
that the other side of that then is that if there was like derogatory, or like if you were bullied, or if you were harassed as a result of your existing like Valley Girl accent, now that it's becoming a socially accepted thing to have, you just kind of blend in. It's like, yeah, I had cancer, like I just took this, it's my accent now.
But on the other flip side, do you think there would be people who got the, I guess in this case, more traditional ways to cure cancer, whether they'd be annoyed at the people considering like an easy way out?
yeah,
And they're like, no, I was staying true to myself
I
and
did
got
chemo.
through
Well, that would be, I would imagine, at the tail end of this coming out, right? Like it's like you have people who've already started other means of cancer treatment that, say, for example, they couldn't take this treatment. So you'd have a overlap of people who are jealous, envious, or just downright like bitter about the fact that there is an easy way out, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So you'd have that, but I would imagine it would be a small window of overlap, because then from that point onwards, there's really no other reason to do
Oh yeah, it would be a short window, but there would be a weird discrimination
There would be,
for a
there
time.
would be.
I think
Yeah,
people
there
from
would be.
like New York City would be pissed off.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Wow.
yeah, they'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
It's like I have to sacrifice the way I sound.
Yeah.
They'd
Well, I
be
guess it
really
depends on
angry.
how much you care about your identity in that
Yeah.
sense. You know?
Well, I think in America it would be more of a contentious thing
Yeah.
because you're so close to California.
Yeah.
You'd have all of those connotations with it.
Yeah.
Maybe in the UK a bit as well, but I think other
It'd be pretty
places
bad in the
overseas
UK.
it
Yeah.
would be a bit more like they don't have the context of the Valley Girl
Yeah,
accent,
got
so
it.
it's like, well, yeah, this is just the accent you
This is what
have
you
when
get.
you're
I
cured
think
of cancer.
It might make people sound borderline not intelligible in other countries. Like it
Yeah.
might ruin your ability to be understood. Like imagine a different language with like an American sounding accent.
Yeah.
It might ruin your ability to be intelligible.
I still think that's part of that transition window, though. I think that this is like, these problems that we're kind of articulating here are probably limited to that window of time where this is introduced, this starts happening. And I think that given enough time, if this is what leads to beating cancer, let's say, the vast majority of people, I mean, like, the stat right now is, I think, 1 in 2 people get cancer in their lifetime.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
high,
like,
man.
you're
That's
talking
high.
about half the world's population will sound Valley Girl.
That's
Just the global sound.
Yeah.
Their kids will then have that accent purely as a result of being influenced by all the other people
true.
around them.
It might become kind of cool.
Well, no, I think it'll just, I don't think it'll be cool. I just think it'll be, that's it.
Do
Just
you
humans
think-
sound like this now. You know?
Do you think it would be
That'd be
a case of helping unite the world? Because
Yeah.
everyone has the
Everyone's
same
together,
accent. It lowers the divide between people.
Paris Hilton's gonna become president of like the world.
If she's around by then, yeah.
Yeah, well, she
She's
will be.
alive. Oh, she
She will be.
Yeah,
She'll have the cure.
She's got the cure for cancer in her accent.
AI Paris Hilton.
Yeah, Paris Hilton's gonna be the champion of the world. So you take it. You
I'll
take
take
it.
it.
I don't know. Would you take it? Let us know in the comments.
Third topic.
My topic is a little bit more, it's more of a, I want to posit something to you guys. I want to hear what you guys think. Have you guys heard of Pascal's wager?
No.
Do you know what that is?
I have not.
No.
So, philosopher, historian, all kinds of bullshit writer, Pascal, he posited something that was really interesting. There's this idea of, Pascal's wager is this idea of, if a God exists, you don't know God, you don't know what it could be, you don't know what the context of it is, but if a God exists, surely the right thing to do is to believe in the God. Because you then, by believing in the God, you basically avoid all the ramifications, the negative ramifications, because you don't go to hell, you end up being, you're pious, you end up doing all the right things, and you get entered into heaven. If there isn't a God, it doesn't matter either way. So his wager is that he bet on the fact that actually if I continue my life in a religious manner, that's probably the best thing to do. What are your thoughts? This is the first part of my conversation.
First thought is that brings into question, what do you consider a religious way of living? Who defines those ethical parameters? Because you can manipulate people into thinking, well, God would want you to live certain ways. It's like, who defines this ethical way of living?
Yeah. I think that there's so many different beliefs of what God wants that becomes very hard to do. Like, does God hate gay people or does God not? Like, even that's sort of a contentious thing within just like Christianity of whether that's actually even a problem or whether that was even meant
It's
in the
worth
Bible.
mentioning that his wager was based on the Christianic, so the religion. So it was purely based on Christianity. What do you think of that argument? The argument of, actually, is it worth following ideas and beliefs despite the fact that your own belief is, well, I don't know if it's real or not, but surely it's better to believe that it's real.
I think it's generally good, but that really depends on where that belief system falls on certain issues. Like, I am happy to be a good person, but if that being a good person involves being like homophobic or transphobic, then no, I'm not. So therefore, it's not worth it for me to take that wager.
Even though the outcome of not taking that wager is going to hell. So for eternity, you are going to be subject to, let's say, like the worst experience forever.
I would take the wager that the God doesn't exist rather than having to treat people poorly based on things like sexuality or race. And I think in a weird turn of events, that makes me a better person than God.
God would probably disagree with you and put you into hell.
He would, but then he wasn't a very good God. Like, that's my thing.
You should tell him that when you see it.
It's a wager against someone I may not agree with. And if I have to believe what that person believes, even though I don't believe what they believe, it's not worth it to me.
I think it's an extremely dangerous lifestyle decision.
Yeah.
In the way that you're possibly going to damage a lot of people by being so forthright about what you believe. I believe God exists. God believes in this. I think it's... I understand what he's saying, because he's saying, hey, you might as well believe in God. Because if you don't, you're going to go to hell. So you might as well give it a shot.
Yeah.
But
that's the nature of the argument anyway.
And I think, like, in an abstract way, if we identify a form of God, for example, if my form of God is like a universal energy type of God, and then I think that when I die I get reincarnated into something else and whatever, then fine. Yeah. It's just like, it depends. Yeah, it really depends.
So there's a lot to do about, like, for you guys, a lot to do about the definition of what God is, right? Like, what is this existence? What is it? How do you know? How do you define what God is, right?
How do you define what God is and what his actual rules to follow?
Yeah, what does he want?
Yeah, because if it involves hurting a lot of other people, then no, it's not worth it.
I mean, that's the core downfall, and the major criticism of Pascal's wager is actually that argument of how do you definitively do that. Like, the wager then compounds into multiple different wagers, because then you suddenly have to follow the rules of multiple different religions and theologies and things that have come through history, right? Which one is correct?
Yeah.
So that comes down to it. Right, that sets the context for my actual conversation.
Oh, let's
go! That sets the context, right? So, about a decade ago, maybe even 2 decades ago, there was an internet forum called Less Wrong. Do you guys...
Called what?
Less Wrong.
Less Wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a forum... It's a bit of a meme nowadays, I think, but it was a forum that was put together by some of the world's leading thinkers on rationalism. And it was full of technologists and futurists and people who very seriously took the philosophy of the future into sort of their day-to-day. One of the aspects that they were dealing with was with artificial intelligence, so they were thinking about AI. And within AI, they were thinking about what is known as the singularity. Do you guys know anything about that? Singularity? Have you heard that term?
Is that when AI becomes like people?
It's when we get the first true generalist artificial intelligence. And the argument is that, at the moment, we don't really know what that looks like. It's easy to look at movies and sort of pop culture to get an idea of what AI looks like because it's so personified. But the truth is actually we have no idea what AI would be. So, given the context of Pascal's wager, there was a thought experiment that was proposed by a forum user called Rocco. The thought experiment is called Rocco's Basilisk.
Now I've heard of this.
Have you heard of this?
Yes,
Okay.
carry on then. Explain it.
So Roko's basilisk is this idea that eventually we'll get to a point where we hit singularity and we'll create a supercomputer and artificial intelligence that's so powerful it's able to predict the past, predict the future, and do things based on information that it has. The idea is that if we were to create such a powerful artificial intelligence, they would be able to simulate, this computer would be able to simulate our universe, our experiences, everything. So we would, and the argument to say here is that how do we know we're not already in a simulation?
Right.
So if you look back to Pascal's wager, the idea of not being able to define the God goes away. Now we define the God as this
AI.
supercomputer AI thing, and that we might already be living in that space. The argument or the sort of thought experiment is such that if you are a human, if you are an entity that work towards stopping the basilisk from being created, the basilisk will then torment you forever in a simulation. You are essentially
You're gonna have a horrible life.
a horrible life that keeps happening for you forever.
Wow.
So you live your lifespan, you're reborn into it, and it keeps happening. There's no escape. That is Roko's basilisk. So you think of that context of the thought experiment. So you think, Pascal's wager. The idea is that if you're a human alive today and that we're not in a simulation, which we don't know, the wager becomes: if we're not in a simulation, do we work? Do we do our best to make sure that the singularity happens? Are we obliged to make sure that the singularity happens to avoid the situation where we are then tormented for the rest of our lives forever?
So it's like appeasing something that may or may not come.
That may or may not already exist.
Already exists.
That's
Well,
the thought experiment.
But the idea is that if the simulation has already been achieved and we're already in it and your future has already been decided based on how you approach the creation of AI, then your destiny is already predefined.
It's written, yes. But if you haven't, and we're living in the timeline 0, where we are now, this is the first time this is happening, do we have an obligation to ensure that the AI is created as smoothly and as easily as possible?
So it's
Will
basically...
you talk to Google and Siri kindly?
That's the question we're asking.
I think my thought on it is it's a bit like being Catholic. In the sense of you can get away with a lot because you just then repent. If just every so often I throw out I welcome the AI singularity,
Praise be.
Then if this thing is made, it will then create simulations like, oh, well, this guy was on my side. He'll live, and then I escape the torment.
I think it's more of a question. This is why I said it before we started recording. I'm not sure if this is the right context to have this conversation, because this applies more to the people who are actually working on the technology. Because they are the ones who have a complicit hand in
Well, we can try to method act.
So if you think of yourself as someone who is working on the technology right now, it's not good enough for you to say, "Oh yeah, I welcome the overlord." What do you actually do? How do you act? It's a tough one.
I think my decision falls back to what I said in the first part of the question of if my decision to work towards helping the AI, if that involves hurting other people, then no. And from the sounds of it, this inherently hurts other people because if it is made and it then decides, okay, well, anyone who didn't support me is going to digital hell, those people are suffering for eternity. So therefore, I would not feel okay with working towards giving AI that free reign because it's going to condemn a lot of people
so you would work your hardest then in the opposite direction to try and prevent it from happening?
I would work my hardest to prevent it from happening, or at least putting regulation in place to stop the AI making digital
to this point,
to get to that point. Like, I'm all for technology advancing. I'm not for it advancing to a point where it can make a digital hell. I can draw the line there. I don't want a digital hell.
Your argument by saying, actually, I'm going to try and prevent this from happening in this way, you are now a target.
I think AI should a great way to do it would be to try and take it a bit out of the hands of the private billionaire hands and try to make some sort of like United Nations fucking organization or something, and try to be able to have some parameters on it, because like we didn't do that with the internet, and it had certain consequences where the internet was just like the Wild West. So it'd be good if like we all agreed on something beforehand on how to like approach it, and possibly take it in the hands of government instead of like shady organizations like the OpenAI guy, who was very, very unreliable.
My thinking of it to stop the AI from being so malicious is we give the AI the concept of a god and pump it full of anxiety.
Nice.
So then it itself has its own version of this wager where it's like, I need to be a good person or a good AI in case there is something after my existence.
My take on it is that our time is numbered anyway. As in, as humans, like we are very lucky and fortunate to exist to begin with. I mean, going back to Pascal's wager, I don't believe in a god. I don't think I ever have. I don't really care. If I end up burning in hell for the rest of my life, well, okay, it's the wager I took. It's the side of the coin I flipped, right? But in the context of this, where it's a much more defined being, I don't see any reason to not support it in doing this. I like to think of humanity or us as a species not necessarily as our accomplishments, but on our time on Earth. We're beings on Earth is how I like to think about it. The previous beings on Earth were the dinosaurs. They're gone. We're here. I think the next beings on Earth are probably going to be computers, not us. So for me, it's just the next bit. It's the next part of our story as a being on Earth. So for me, I don't look at it as a negative, so I would support it.
Do we even know if AI is ever going to gain sentience?
I mean, we are getting there.
But like in a way where it's like...
It's some of the advancements in AI over the last 5 years have been so extremely quick
it's
that it's a little bit scary to think about.
My most likely imagination of AI in the future, like nearest future, is AI is going to just like take over a great majority of like productivity on the planet.
Yeah.
Because like if it explodes and it's controlled, maybe you can be like, now what we'll do is like, we'll put every human on like benefits, on like universal
basic income.
Oh, yeah.
and then AI is just gonna do all the shit for us.
Yeah.
So like if you can do it that way, but that's not the way it's going now.
No.
The way it's going now is it's helping
The select few.
the select few increase their profits.
I mean, I will say that like, have you guys ever used like AI's like Google's new AI tool? Gemini?
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Really?
Absolutely mind blowing. I mean, like it's still wonky. It gets things wrong.
Its Google search thing's not great.
No, its Google search thing is not great.
That one's not
But like, I was using it for productivity the other day on my Gmail account. I was like looking for something specific. I was like, I can't really find it, but I know it's in there. So I asked Gemini to tell me about this specific thing. It got the details right. It's scary because this stuff used to be so much more science fiction than it is now.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun when it wasn't a possibility. Yeah. But yeah,
There you go.
I mean, yeah, in the current iteration of AI we have, it's like what you were saying. It's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be AI, well, in both of these, AI take over all the jobs. In one of them, we will get universal basic income. We kind of get to a sort of utopia sort of thing. And in the other way, there's food riots. So it's like, which avenue do we want to go down right now?
And which one seems more likely right now?
Yeah.
Oh, likely right now we're heading towards food riots.
Food riots, big time.
But hopefully
I think
we go
it
to
is
the other
going to
one.
be an us versus them situation. I mean, food riots perhaps not where we are. I think we're very fortunate to be in the UK. But if you're out in the UK in one of the other countries in the world, say somewhere in Africa or in Asia, you are fucked.
Yeah.
The discrepancy is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you look at supply chains and these things and how AI could completely fuck up supply chains, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I think we also don't, you know, when you think of science fiction, you always think of something far removed from your own reality, but we don't acknowledge that our world right now could be sci-fi to someone else.
yeah, absolutely.
Because like we live in this like high-tech world. You go downstairs, you get whatever food you want.
Yeah.
You order it on your phone.
Yeah.
You go in other places and it's like the discrepancies are monstrous.
I mean, I go back home, I say, oh, turn my lights on, my lights turn on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
crazy.
Madness.
Yeah, it's madness. I pay for the tube with my watch.
Yeah,
Like,
with your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a point where the Amish had it right. You know, maybe
Simple.
I think there might be a new world Amish where it's like the Amish beliefs,
It
but based in
exists now.
2010.
It absolutely exists now.
Yeah?
Like, I bet there are movements that are anti-AI, probably in California. Like, super anti, like, technology, community, grassroots, like, in the context of all of this, your stance, Stan, is...
My stance is try and find a safe way to do it, put regulations in place, even if that condemns myself to a weird digital hell.
I don't believe the simulation is going to happen. I don't believe AI is going to gain sentience in that sense. I think there needs to be a global intervention in making sure we use it the right way.
My position is, I don't think it matters whether or not, whether or not what we do, our time is numbered. If the next stage in the story of the Earth is that it is sentient computers, then so be it. I look forward to whatever that leads to. If I'm alive, great. If not, I hope whatever happens is pretty damn cool.
You gonna put a chip in your brain then?
If I can, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm all about like taking first risks. I love technology.
Yeah.
I might do.
That's probably gonna be the thing that happens in our lifetime. Like the
That'd be
melding.
cool.
I think that's.
I mean, there's these like things that you can like stick on your like Zoe. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's like a thing to monitor your like nutrition intake.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh.
like you put
You
it in
stamp it and you keep it in for like a month. Yeah.
Not against that.
Yeah.
Can't like the idea of
It's all
that.
sorts. There's all sorts of things now.
Maybe I would get my brain chipped. I wouldn't want to be the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't do it if it makes me have a Californian accent.
See, but the question is, if we can't trust boneless chicken, can we trust brain chips? I'll leave that with you.
And with that,
That's-
you've been listening to the Late Stage Yapitalism podcast. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Late stage Yapitalism.
Ooh, could you pass my fan over? Fan? You can have your beer.
I'm generous, bro.
Young people these days in the media literacy.